Yeah, a minute ago, Brother Israel was thinking of the verse, everyone will be salted with fire. And so I looked that up in Mark chapter 9, and it says, salt is good, but if it loses its saltiness, how can you make it salty again? Have salt among yourselves and be at peace with each other. And the context when Jesus says this is he's talking about not causing little ones to stumble. And then if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off. So I think in a lot of ways, it's like if we can discipline ourselves, if we can, at the conviction stage of the Holy Spirit, make the required changes, then it doesn't have to get to the spanking stage,
Uh-huh.
as it were. But let me go ahead. I got some. I need to confess here because one of the scriptures I looked up is one of the hardest scriptures in the whole Bible for me to obey, and everybody's familiar with it. It's from James 1. Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking in anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him. And my mistake when I'm in the trial is I bristle. I don't consider it joy. I'm in the woe is me mode, and kind of hoping I could get some sympathy from some brothers and sisters, and often they can see the character flaws in me that this is going to work out, and but I'm blind to them, right? Because by the time you get to the chastening stage, for me, it was because God's very patient. It was because of a period, and usually a longer period, of blindness. And most of the chastenings I've undergone in the last 20 or 25 years really come down to two issues: developing humility toward others, mostly. Um, if I'm sure God's talking to me, I feel like I respond pretty well to that. Boy, but don't talk to me through that brother over there who doesn't know the Bible as well as I do, because I became proud in the first 10 years that I was born again, that I was following Jesus. I read the Bible through at least once a year, and I memorized lots of scriptures. And it was probably early, within the last year was the first time I've ever met somebody younger than me who knew the Bible better than me. I know that sounds like less than a humble statement to say that out loud, but that's my sober assessment. But it wasn't healthy to think of it like that, because the second sin, pride's the first sin I get spanked for mostly in the last 20 years. The second one is impatience, right? So the
Mm.
trials and the chastenings were all about developing humility and patience, usually toward my fellow man, right? Or even with the subject of patience. I got spanked this last month. I got pulled over by a policeman for speeding, doing 66 and a 45 because I was in a hurry to meet a brother for lunch and fellowship with him. And a pickup truck in the left lane saw the state trooper up there and slowed down. And I just got over in the right lane and passed him, 66 and a 45. Boom, 300 something dollar ticket and
Mm.
8 hours of driver's education to save what, even had I made it to the stoplight, it wouldn't have saved much time. But that's the Lord's chastening for patience. And that's a relatively light hand, right? But most of my chastenings have been much more expensive and time consuming and difficult to climb out of it, right? Most of the time, if I could do an 8 hour online course and solve this, I'd be happy most of the time. Um, so that's that. And I'll get, as we go along here, I'll circle back to some of the more painful chastenings that I've been through. But it's hard in the moment because I asked the wrong question. I ask why instead of, Lord, what are you trying to produce in me? Right? It says,
Mm.
if any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God. And there's a lot of things. If God just told us why in so many words, we wouldn't understand it.
Right.
Or we a lot of times I understand why 10 years later. That's how thick I am. You know, when I look back on my spankings 10 years ago, I finally understand them. But you know, I think I do better praying, Lord, what's the path to improvement here? What do you want me to change here? Because if perseverance finishes his work so we can become mature and complete, the faster we get to the change, the sooner God can let up on the spanking.
If you see what I see, that the grave is empty, then you know what I know. Anything is possible. If you see what I see, that the grave